1-6, so this is the last section we're going to talk about in chapter 1. We're talking about midpoint and distance in the coordinate plane. So we're going to talk about some graphs today. By the end of the video, you will be able to develop and apply the formula for midpoint and use Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between 2 points. And Pythagorean theorem is really important. You're going to want to definitely make sure that you know how to do Pythagorean theorem. We use it a lot. Yay! Okay, Pythagorean theorem. Sweet. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is find the coordinates of a midpoint, and that's kind of easy. This is what they give you in the book, which looks kind of complicated. So I want you to just write down a note to yourself that you just need to find the average. So for example, if I told you this person over here has size 10 feet. There's his size 10 feet. And person over here has size 2. So this person wears size 2 and this person wears size 10. What would the average of their two shoe sizes be? Well, you would add up 2 plus 10 divided by 2, and so the average would be 6. You're going to do the same thing for the midpoint, except you have to do it twice. Once for the x coordinate and once for the y coordinate. Okay, so basically you take the x's, add them up, divided by 2, and you take the y's, add them up by 2. So that's what they did here, and that's what they did here. They took up the x's, add them up, divided by 2, took the y's, add them up, divided by 2. So go ahead and circle this if you need to. This is important. Okay, so number 1, you should be able to answer. Number 2, how can you check your work? Graph it. I will always have graph paper for you if you need it. So let's try number 3. Number 3 says, find the coordinates of the midpoint PQ with endpoints. P is negative 8, 3, and Q is negative 2, 7. So let's go ahead and graph P. Okay, so negative 8, remember this first one is always your x, the second one's always your y. This is the x coordinate, and this is the y coordinate. So negative 8 means we need to go to the left 8, and there's only 6, so 7, 8. I'll make that negative 8. And then up 3, 1, 2, 3. So right here is P. And then Q is at negative 2, 7. So negative 2 and then up 7. Boom, we'll say that that's 7. Okay, so there's PQ. And so by graphing it, we know that our answer should be in here somewhere. The middle of these two points should be in here somewhere. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the x's. So we're going to take the x's and we're going to add them up. So negative 8 plus a negative 2, and we're going to divide it by 2. Well, that's negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So x equals negative 5. Then you're going to do the same thing with your y's. So your y's are always the second number. So we're going to do 3 plus 7. You always add them up, divide it by 2. You're always going to divide it by 2. So 3 plus 7 is 10 divided by 2. So y is going to equal positive 5. And as your final answer, you write the x's first. So x was negative 5, and then the y, was this one right here, always goes second. So let's graph it and see if that works. So negative 5, 5. Oh my goodness, we were absolutely right. That's our midpoint. Okay, using the same graph, go ahead and try to do 4 and 5. All right. This second part is really hard. This one, they actually give you the midpoint and they want you to find the endpoint. So, okay, this one is the hardest part. Notice I even put hard. Okay, so let's see. I wrote down the steps for you guys. I'm going to erase this graph and see if I can help you guys out with it. Okay, so for number 6, it says M is the midpoint of XY. That's important. M is the midpoint. That means it's the point in the middle. And they give you X. X has coordinates 2, 7. So if I wanted to graph 2 and then up 7, here's X. And then they tell you what M is. So M is the midpoint. That's 6, 1. So 6, 1. This is the midpoint. So if you think about it, this point is only half the line. Then it has to keep going. So Y should be over here somewhere. Okay, and we want to know what y is. We don't know what it is. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the midpoint formula. Remember, we take the x's, we add them up, divide by 2, and that's going to equal the midpoint x. We're going to do the same thing for the y's. We're going to add up the y's and divide it by 2. And this little subscript, it just means the midpoint of the x, the midpoint of the y. So like what we did over here, this was the midpoint x and the midpoint y. Okay, so we're going to plug in, and we're going to take this one right here, 2, 7. We're going to take this one, 2, 7. We're going to plug it in here. So 2 represents the x, so we're going to plug in 2 here. And the 7 represents the y. I'm just going to do the x's first. Okay, so we plug in this answer, the endpoint in here, so 2 plus x, we don't know what this other x coordinate is, but we do know what the answer is because I gave you the midpoint. This is your answer. So you put 6 over here, and then you're going to solve it. So the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2, so your first step is always going to be to multiply by 2 on both sides, and that gets rid of this yucky fraction. So now you have 12 equals 2 plus x, subtract 2, and you get x equals 10. Okay, you're going to do the same thing for the y coordinate. I know this is confusing. This, when they give you the endpoint, that's going to be what you plug in for x or y. So 7 is y, so I'm going to plug in 7 plus y divided by 2, always divided by 2, is going to equal the midpoint. They give you the midpoint, equals 1. And then again, you're going to multiply by 2 on both sides, first step. So, and that gets rid of the fraction. So now you have 7 plus y equals 2. Subtract 7 and you get y equals negative 5. So your answer is 10, because x always goes first, and then our y was negative 5. And then if we graph it, 10 is all the way over here, negative 5 is all the way over here. That is exactly where y should be. Okay, 7 is hard. We'll probably have to do that in class together, but try to do 7. Okay, last thing, Pythagorean Theorem, super important. Pythagorean Theorem, we are always using right triangles. Right triangles. Okay, so what that means is we're always going to have a right angle, like we did our angle aerobics yesterday. So we know what a right angle looks like. So right triangle has a right angle, and always, that's what this means. 90 degrees. Awesome. The longest side, the one always across from the 90 degrees, that's always your hypotenuse. And then these are the legs. So a triangle has 2 legs, and they're the ones that touch the 90-degree angle. And Pythagorean theorem, as maybe you guys already know, is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But if you don't give any terms to that, a squared plus b squared equals c squared doesn't mean anything. So I want you to write that the legs are always the a and the b, and then the hypotenuse is always the c. Okay, so see if you can answer number 8. I'm going to show you how to do number 9, and then you're going to try to do number 10. So what you're going to do is plot the points. So we want to use Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between D and E, these 2 points. So D is at 3, 4. 3, 4. There's D. And E is at negative 2, negative 5. Here's E. And we want to figure out how long this line is. And some people are going to go, you could just count. That's like 7.75, and that's like 0.25, so they make 1. There's no guessing. You're going to use Pythagorean theorem to find out exactly how long it is. And to do that, you're going to draw your own right triangle. So if I put this point down and I go straight across with this point, you come up with this beautiful right triangle. And you can count exactly how long this side is. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this side of the triangle is 9. You're going to count over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This side is 5. These are your legs. So you could call this A and this B if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter which one's A or B. It does matter that this one's always C. The longest side is always C. So remember, this is always the longest side. That's one way to check your work. Okay, so then you're going to go 5 squared plus 9 squared equals C squared. 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25. 9 times 9 is 81. Add those up, and I think you get 106. And I don't care about c squared. To get rid of the c squared, you square root. For now, leave it as radical 106. If you put it in, it says put it to the nearest tenth, so actually pop this into your calculator, and I think it's about 10 point something. I don't know, 10.1 or 10 point, I think 10.1 maybe. Try it in your calculator and see if you can get that one right. Okay, and then 10, we'll try to do number 10. We'll probably do it in class as well. Make sure you write your reflection. All right, Pythagorean theorem, super, super, super important. Random fact of the day. Let's see. There is one green heart in this classroom. One green heart located in the classroom. See if you can find it.